Okay, I think we are in. Hello, hello. Okay. Hello, Strand. How are you? Hello, people from the internet, interwebs. How have you been, Strand? You been good? Alright. Just came from a gaming evening. No TTRPGs though. So, what was it? Was it board gaming or video gaming? I'm good. I'm good, thanks. Thanks for asking. Yeah. Uh, yeah, good man. Yeah, generally pretty good. Just been trying to do some video editing, so hopefully getting some more stuff onto the channel very soon. Um, yeah, looking forward to getting that. Comes out twice with a bit of delay. Okay, let me see here. Right. Comes out twice. Is that still happening, Strand? Uh, board games and card games. Okay, well, what did you play? I'm interested. I'm always interested. Oh. Huh. Is that how you're like bumping up my viewership by adding more tabs? Is that the way that you're doing it? That's funny. That's funny. Although I've done stuff like that where someone else has been streaming, and I've noticed something that YouTube does now is that if you click away from that tab, it'll just pause the live stream, and then when you go back, is that uh, it'll it will pick up where you were rather than like continuing the stream while you're not on that, um, not watching that tab. And so when uh, so then you go back and you keep watching, but you haven't really figured out that now you're like 5 minutes behind, and then you like reference something that was 5 minutes ago, and then they're like, "What are you talking about?" Like, and also that you're like, why are they not seeing my message for like five uh like for like 10 minutes or whatever? Then it can get really confusing. Exit. Yes, I do know this game. And we had after that we had a little party game. Nice, very cool. What party game did you play? Um, and did you find your way out of the exit, uh, the escape room game? I think I owned a couple of them, um, or at least I got given one of them as a gift. I think at least, and yeah, I because it's very difficult to use the same set again and like reuse them because I think in the one that I had is that you might like fold and you might cut pieces of like paper and other things that are within the box. So yeah, I was always a little bit reluctant of like cutting stuff up. Um, so I tried my best to like keep it so someone could play it again. Um, but of course, like there are some things where you can't really avoid that. I thought that stereo works that way. Yeah, yeah, pretty much, more or less. Would it help for the viewership? I don't really know. I don't think. I'm not sure. I wonder if YouTube resolves it based on your IP, on your IP address or something like that. But I can't say I really know. Yeah, it's like has zero replayability. Like, once you buy it, it is a one and done thing, right? So, uh, oh, Cracklist. I've never played that. Oh, okay, interesting. So it's kind of like categories and Uno together. Uh huh. Right. Right. Ah, okay. That sounds interesting. That would be quite fun, I think. We try to work around the destroying part of the exit games, but it's, yeah, it is unavoidable. Like, you can avoid some of it, like, especially a lot of like the cutting and folding and stuff like that. You can kind of get around it, but I found that in the couple of games that I've played, there's always like one or two things that you just have to kind of destroy, or do something to that thing that makes it obvious what that the next person or next group who's playing it should do. Um, so yeah, it kind of is not ideal. Um, but yeah, and then this also happens with like legacy games as well. Like if you ever play games that um, like Pandemic Legacy or anything like that. Yeah, it's super simple, keeps the spirits high, and you can bonkers with some categories. We don't play those to win, but rather just to enjoy the time and some answers turn into group projects. Sure. Yeah, that's good fun. Like, it depends on how competitive your group is, of course, um, for like party games. And if people are like, oh yeah, well, not too bothered about people winning or whatever, then yeah, it can be a lot of fun. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I played Pandemic Legacy, and that was quite fun. Like that was really cool because it almost felt like a mini campaign, for lack of a better way of putting it. Um, but yeah, there's always like bits and pieces of problems with games like Pandemic where it, really is it really four people playing, or is it like just one person kind of like making decisions for four people or four characters? Um, but yeah, sounds like a lot of fun. Uh, One of my favorite party games would be uh, Dice. No, Bang the Dice game, which is a lot of fun. I wonder whether you've heard of um, that party game. It's yeah, ends up in some like quite fun situations. Yeah, have you got some other like favorite party games, Strand? I mean, I won't say no to board games. That's true. Um, I think the thing that I've sort of gone away from is like buying them is probably the biggest thing. Um, Especially like the bigger box stuff. Like the ones that are in the background here. You can't quite see them, but they, I bought them a while ago, and yeah, it just kind of gets a little bit, um, yeah, gets expensive as a hobby, to be quite honest. But I do like little party games. I really like them because they are such low barrier for people to get into. And if you're, well, the other thing was that like the games that I started not to enjoy so much were the games that the mechanics were good, but the theme wasn't really that great. So there was a game that I brought, I think a few years ago now, and it's a really great mechanic in it, and it's called Azul, and it's about like tile laying, and you have to do it in a particular, um, uh, you have to do it in a particular order, and you end up with points and stuff like this. Um, and that's fine, but like the theme, like is not strong enough for me. So then I realized that playing TTRPGs is that the theme is the main thing. It's like the strongest part, and that's how you end up with these stories and stuff like that. And so that's how I've ended up skewing towards Mothership, and I've always enjoyed it when the mechanics and the story fit really well. And of course, with OSRs and these styles of TTRPG games, is that they're not, there's not like tons of rules. Um, and if where there are rules, they are pretty simple and they are thematic. Um, so yeah, um, I don't know Bang. Yeah, so Bang is there are a couple of different versions of it. There is a card game version of it and a dice version of it. I prefer the dice one because it's a lot more random, as you might imagine with a dice game. Um, uh, and in Bang, the theme is old Western sheriffs and outlaws, and you are trying to eliminate other players depending on who you are, and you want to eliminate certain other players depending on who you are, and you roll for different things and on your turn. So I think it's like you have four or five dice. You roll the dice, and it can be like beer, which of course you get health back if you drink beer. You get like one shot, so you can either shoot someone to your left, directly to your left, or directly to your right. Um, you can't sort of like shoot people across the table. Um, and then there's another one that you can take two shots, and you can split them if you want. And then there are a couple of other things as well that you can do, and each character has a like an ability that you can do. Um, and what else happens? And yeah, and so if you're the sheriff, you're trying to get rid of everyone else basically, and you're only the sheriff. And if you've got enough players, you have a deputy as well, um, and you are trying to take out everyone else. If you are the outlaws, you're trying to get rid of the sheriff and his deputy. And then if you are the renegade, so if you've got enough players, then there's a couple of extra roles. Um, but if you're the renegade, then your aim is to be the last one standing. Um, and the whole reason why it makes it a little bit interesting is that at the start, everyone's roles are hidden. So you don't know who is an outlaw and you don't know who is a sheriff, apart from how people act. So someone shoots at this person, and if they shoot kind of like back at you, it's like, okay, well, we're adversaries or opponents. Whereas if they're like, oh, don't, I'm going to shoot someone else, it's like, oh, we're kind of on the same team. So there is some like hidden information stuff there. So Just One is a game that gets put on the table a lot of the time. We enjoy those group games with party games instead of going against each other. Yeah, not that we don't play. Yeah. What else is quite good in this? Some other party games that are pretty like chilled. Like I always like Sushi Go. Like Sushi Go is always great. Um, uh, and then what else? I've got a couple of games that are like one's called Railroad Inc. And another one is called Welcome to. What else? And then yeah, like my first sort of really fun and really simple. It's not really a party game. It's a card game, but you can play with like a small amount of players, like 3 or 4, like 4 for best. There's a game called Love Letter. Yeah, Assault is a good game. You need 4 players, I would say, 3 or 4. And then, yeah, the sushi one's good. And there's different versions of it as well with sushi. With Sushi Go. But yeah, that one's quite fun, very easy. Like, if you're ever playing with like people who are new to board games or card games, then yeah, it's very easy to pick up. Yeah, Love Letter is quite fun, and often they've got like licensed versions of it. So you have like Batman Love Letter and Lord of the Rings Love Letter and all that sort of stuff. Ah, okay, solo or duo version of Puzzle. I'm not surprised. I think it was a very successful board game, and had like a whole lot of hype. So yeah, I'm not surprised by that at all. Um, yeah, I think also I've learned that like playing um, like 2-player games like with my wife is that she'd much rather play something that uh, that yes can be competitive, but there's as long as that there's not too much like interaction between like what I do affects it directly what she can do. So games like we own this game called Paris, and that game like it's like it's never like fun because the whole point of Paris is basically you are strategically taking things and removing opportunities from the other player. And if they have like grand plans to do a particular thing, then you're ruining it for them. Uh, so that's always kind of interesting. Um, yeah, asymmetrical, exactly. So like Welcome to and Railroad Inc. are good examples of those. But those aren't necessarily two-player games. They're also at like larger numbers. I think with Welcome to, you could technically play that with like unlimited people as long as you had enough pens and the pieces of paper from the game, because it's kind of like, you know, with like Texas Hold'em poker, is that you have your own stuff, but then you have like community cards, and those community cards are what you use for, but you get to choose how you use them. So in Welcome to, you are like it's like set as like a 1950s, 1960s, I guess, real estate development, and each card represents like a street number, and also represents usually some other like thing that you might need to do, like it might be like a park or like a pool or something like this. But the important thing is that you fill up your streets, of which you have three, and you do them in numerical order. However, there are cards that are around sort of like, well, the cards range from 1 to 15. You don't have to do them like in exact numerical order, like 1, 2, 3, 4, but they have to be like ascending, and you end up in situations where I'm waiting on this card and it's not coming out, but you have to do it because otherwise you'll get penalties for not doing it correctly. Yeah, I might look into dice throwing. That could be. Am I looking at the right one here? Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, that's it. Okay, cool. All right, I'll keep that tab open and I'll take a look at it a little bit more. It looks like it has like an app as well. Maybe, is that right? Yeah, there's like a digital one. Digital Kickstarter. But yeah, I'll have to take a look at that a little bit later, perhaps. You fight each other. Okay, cool. We'll see. We'll see how. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out and see what it's like for sure. All right. Well, I think I might get into things in that case. So yeah, welcome in. Thank you for coming to check this one out this week. We have a pretty small agenda, I would say, and we've got a bundle that has a few people from the community involved in. Then we have a couple of releases, including It Followed Me Home, which is about pets and companions in Mothership, and Dr. Richilieu's Recipe, which is actually a game that came out of Triptych, the Triptych Jam, but the second version, so it came out, this was one from a previous one. And then there's the Triptych, the latest one, the Triptych Jam voting results, so we'll have a quick look at that. And also there was another sci-fi one-shot jam that happened during May, and that has recently finished too. We'll talk a little bit about the community itself, and then our main topic here today is player agency and decision making, and we'll take a look at a piece of the Warden's operations manual and talk about that a little bit more. So yeah, should be fun, and yeah, I look forward to seeing any comments and things like that about some of these things. So at the moment, there is a few members of the Campaign at Length community who have come together along with a couple of others to create this Exploring the Void bundle. And it has a bit of a tagline here, which is, have you ever wondered what lurks within the cold emptiness of space? Are you drawn to drifting wrecks at the edge of civilization, abandoned research stations, and the horrors waiting in the dark, industrial corridors while your heartbeat pounds in your throat? And so we've got items from Windblown Vagrant, Lazarus, and Void Inc., all of which who are community members, and they include these items here. So we've got Managing the Expendables, Hex, Crawling the Void, Oni, the Still Wake Aftermath, and also a very popular Mothership adventure, Bloom, that has been around for a while too. And then some other releases that have gone on. We've got It Followed Me Home. And It Followed Me Home, like I said, is related to pets and companions for Mothership. And this is something that you can find in the player guide, player survival guide. This is towards the back, I think. And this particular zine, I think it's going to end up being, so 36-page companion and pet expansion for Mothership. The module comes chock full of ready-to-play pets and companions, all customizable and complete with random tables to make your pet your own, and you'll never face the darkness alone at all. So I'd be interested if people have played Mothership scenarios with pet companions. I know that I think I've run a couple of sessions with it, but not a lot, to be quite honest. There's like a little bit of interaction with companions and pets where they can cause more stressful situations if something happens to them, and I wonder whether there's like some advantage as well, perhaps for having companions during rests, but I can't quite remember at this point how that works. So it talks about how you can have lots of different options for the companions. It talks about making them memorable, and then also there's some other Warden resources, talking about like a panic table that focuses on pets and companions. So maybe there are things that happen to them if that is appropriate. It's been doing pretty well. I think this started in the past week, and they've got some great stretch goals, which include some guest writers, so including Waco, Terry Herc, and also Chris Eyre, and apparently more to come. So that'll be exciting if those stretch goals get completed too. And so this has come out from One-Eyed Werebear Gaming, and I'd encourage you to check it out. It looks pretty fun, and a part of the Mothership system that isn't probably used very, very often, or I imagine that there's probably some wardens that are a lot more familiar with using companions and pets than I am, that's for sure. There's some like really great art in here too. And it has some like really cool add-ons. So they've even got like a physical engraved mutation warning tag, which is quite fun. So you can see it here on the model that they used. And then it's got some companion character sheets, as well as some stickers and things like this, as well as add-ons for some other things that One-Eyed Werebear Gaming has already published as well. And another thing to mention here is that on their itch page, they have currently got like a sale of like 10% or something like this as well. So I would encourage you to check out some of the stuff that they've done. Where have I ended up? This is like, yeah, there we go. Yeah, and I think salvage rights. I've heard people talk about salvage rights as well. Junkers sounds like quite a lot of fun. So yeah, definitely worth checking out some of the stuff that they've done before as well. Right, and then next we have Dr. Richilieu's recipe, which is by Personable, and the sort of tagline blurb here is a scientist had his work stolen by his employer before he was summarily dismissed. Now he wants to hire you to steal it back. The credits are good, but are you prepared to take the risk to get back Dr. Richilieu's recipe? So this is a trifold pamphlet module featuring a heist in a pharmaceutical company, 2 new drugs, and a D10 table of medical anomalies. And they say something for everyone. So like I said before, this was something that was submitted to Triptych 2, which is, I think was in like September, October of 2025. And yeah, it looks like a bit of fun. And if this sounds like your thing, then it is available. And as a few people have pointed out, quite a fun thing that they have done, they've got a print at home version and a print at work version, meaning print at home, black and white setup, and then print at work being color, which I assume would be this like black one here. But yeah, sounds like quite fun. And then Personable, I think, has done like another Mothership module as well, this Twinkle Little Star module. And then some other news. So Triptych has completely finished now. I've talked about it quite a few times on stream. It has ended up with some community selection. So I believe this is who came out on top overall in all of the voting. And then there is particular like themes that people voted on. So we'll talk about that in a second. And then also there was some jury prize winners. So this is a jury of people who had designed things from the previous Triptych Jam, and they had picked out a few that they highlighted as their like favorite. And then there was a jury grand prize as well. So I think the best thing I would encourage you to do is have a look at this like results tab here. And in the results tab, you can look along each of like the different judging criteria. So it puts you into this overall criteria first, but you can go along the line of criteria here and look at the different modules that came out pretty well in the different criteria. Like this ruined spaces, the art for this is awesome, really, really great. And then yeah, so I encourage you, if you're interested in like some different modules and just curious of what people are putting out. So for example, Carving Ymir and Space Bend. These are both from people within the Campaign at Length community, which is cool. Watcher, DM and Waco, as well as Double Monk. So it's cool to see them. And then also Pat the Head as well for Soul Incarnate. Did a really great job here. And then, but yeah, I would encourage you to take a look at these and just see what takes your fancy and have a look around. And there's some really, really great work in here, even though, and I think most of them are available for sale now. yeah, so I encourage you to take a good look through here as well. And then a smaller jam was the sci-fi one-shot jam that has also recently finished. And be aware that they still have voting going on for this, but and I think it's only people who contributed or participated are allowed to vote. But someone can correct me if I'm wrong. But you can have a look in the submissions part here, and there's a couple of ones that are specifically made for Mothership, like this Mind at Large. But then there's also some games that are more system agnostic as well. So yeah, if you're looking for something new, something different, you're just curious what people are making, then I would encourage you to take a good look here as well. Cool. All right, and then for the community, so as a reminder, you can always check out our Discord community. We are, how many members are we at now? We are at quite a few, if I remember. I think it's definitely over 50. Where are we? I always forget where I can find this easily. We're currently at 63, so even more than I thought. Which is cool. We've had a few new people, and yeah, like I've said before, we're a bit of a mix of creators, wardens, players who are all interested in Mothership stuff. And the Discord is pretty low key. There's only like a few messages per day and things like this. And also, like, I'm interested in seeing what people are finding useful, and yeah, it's quite. I've really enjoyed it, and I hope that people continue to enjoy it too. Hoping to run some games in the Discord very, very soon. And we have the live stream, which is on Thursdays, like today. We also have our community meetup on Sundays, and we hold games every so often, but they're not just me holding games. I'm hoping in the future other people will hold games as well. There's definitely a space for that, and very much in the mold of that, if you want to practice and get feedback of what people are of wardening and hearing what people are doing, then that's really, really great. So it'd be awesome to see more people do that. But yeah, that's our community so far. And I think on the weekend we had the theme of what was it? Oh, it was. I think we were just talking about things that we had like bought or come across recently, and so it was a bit more of like a show and tell, and things that I had bought recently were. Let me check my folder now. So things that I had bought recently, they included. So VR Dead was one. Dead Popes, which was by the same guy who did Alfred Valley, who did the 1000 MV Light. Dead Weight, which is by Norgad, who's a New Zealander, so I'm happy to support that as well. This Bunker Needs a Scrub was another one. A module called Hundreds, which is like a whole lot of random tables, and the idea behind that on itch is that each time, like I think it's like in batches of like 10 people or more that buy it, is that then they add more tables to it, and also they are able to, I think the price might go up as well. So there is an incentive to go in early, I guess, for these tables. So I'd been keeping my eye on that for a while. Then Warped Beyond Recognition, Nirvana on Fire, and also Cold Storage was another one that I had bought. So yeah, I'd been looking at some of these for like ages, and I finally got around to purchasing them. So I'm glad that I got to do that. And yeah, I'm hoping that I can run some of those things where it makes sense into in the community as well. But yeah, so our weekly thing is on every Sunday, and you can check out when that is for you in the events part of the Discord, or in there is now a current, I think it's a current schedule channel, community schedule channel that has like some, how would we say, some estimated times of those things each week for whoever checks those out. So the main part of today I wanted to take a look at was an excerpt out of the Warden's Operations Manual, and it is titled Player Agency and Decision Making. And this is on page 31 if you want to follow along in any way, shape or form. And I thought this was kind of an interesting thing. There were some really great sort of like quotes or lines from it that I wanted to talk to. And it's really great advice for wardens as well to keep in mind. And yeah, I'm treating this definitely as a refresher for myself. So throughout this like excerpt, this part of this page, it talks about how this idea of, if you think of it, you can try it. And of course, this is very much a staple of TTRPG games, particularly that in games like Mothership, is that you can try it, and the warden can decide on, okay, what is the likelihood of this actually happening, and then based on this idea of likelihood and your skills, is that then you might come up with a bit of an idea of how to resolve a particular situation. So of course, as a warden, you got lots of choices about how you resolve a particular situation. If often people talk about whether to roll or not, which is something we've talked about on the channel a little bit before, where you should only be asking someone to roll if there is dire consequences or very much like time pressure happening in it's a stressful situation for this character, and you can decide on what that means for different characters, because depending on their skill set and the situation, they might be calm in a situation, but a character in the same party might not be calm in that situation, even trying to do the same task. So there's that aspect of it. And then of course, like, you have all the different types of roles that you could do. You could be asking someone to roll at advantage, someone to be asking rolling at disadvantage. So you got a little bit of leeway with like how you want to resolve things there. And then, but of course, like, the reason why people are playing TTRPGs is because you are introduced to some environment, some like wonderful imaginary world, and there are some, well-known or assumed parameters of like what you can and what you can't do. However, I've always been surprised about how people go about doing things. So I've put here in my notes 2 examples of unexpected spacewalks from games that I've run. So one example, which kind of I mentioned a little bit in the previous stream, which was when I was running a session of The Haunting of Epsilon 14. I made the mistake of not really allowing someone to fail forward through the airlock door into the Heracles, which is Dr. Giovanni's ship, and instead someone else in the party decided to go, well, we can get into our own ship, and he just said that, okay, well, our ship has more than one door, and he just went outside and left from an airlock on the other side of their ship and like spacewalked, because I think he was a teamster, if I remember correctly, and so he had this as a skill, and it seemed like a natural thing for him to do. I think I did make him roll for like the sort of like space jumping from one ship to another, even though he was like trying to be as careful as possible. He succeeded, and then he okay. Right. Okay, I think I'm back. That was weird. Okay. Alright, I think OBS crashed or something. I'm not too sure what happened there. So I'm just going to mark this with a code word here. So umbrella is my code word for editing videos, in case you're wondering. The second example of an unexpected spacewalk for me was in Akigata, which was we had talked about a particular room that included some escape pods, and we said that some of the escape pods that had been used, and the players decided that, well, we would try and exit the ship and I guess like climb along the hull to where the hangar was for where they thought their ship could be. And yeah, so that was a lot of fun, because in the previous times that I've run Akigata, no one had actually like gone out of the ship. They hadn't, left in any way, shape, or form. So what I'm saying here is that it's really cool to, of course, be a warden and set up this imaginary world scenario in this environment, but then for people to go, well, I'm going to try and do this, and it's something that you don't expect, but it still fits well within the bounds of what the imaginary world that you've set up is. So yeah, so that's what I really love about playing these types of games. The other thing about, of course, with player agency is you're trying to play things I'm not sure why I'm having issues here. Weird. Strange. All right, I think it's come back now. So just going to mark this again with umbrella. So of course, a main reason why people really enjoy playing these games is that you are able to play in this imaginary world where what you do does matter. And this kind of leads on to the next part, which is don't write for what makes a good story. Instead, design scenarios and hard problems, escalating threats, and interesting characters to talk to. And then watch what happens in that environment. So, of course, with agency, you really have to think about, okay, the people who are controlling those characters are making decisions and feeling like what they do really does matter. And whether it has consequences that are good and consequences. Yeah. It's important to note that if you are thinking about the sort of like storyline or the story arc and imagining how the characters will do things, because they'll go into this room and then this room and then that room and that other room, and thinking about it in a way that's a little bit linear, is that it can kind of like trap you a little bit as a warden, because there is this sort of like, I guess I wonder whether this is people's experiences from coming up from other games, perhaps, where this feeling of like, okay, well, I want to push the characters towards a particular thing, and I want, I think I want this to happen because I can see this like crescendo or this like wonderful cliffhanger or something like this. But yeah, like I said, you kind of like trap yourself by railroading things, and that can be a little bit of a trap that you put yourself into. So instead, if you're coming out and writing and designing scenarios, it's very much more about like, okay, here's this hard problem, escalating threats, and interesting characters, and setting up this environment, but the players are the ones who do the storytelling that happens within that environment. And myself and Jamie, who is Windblown Vagrant, we have recorded an interview, and he talks about that a little bit more as well. And yeah, I look forward to publishing that onto the channel very soon. And he talks about this idea of this like hard shell, like the game and the environment is this hard shell, like what is able to be done, but then on the inside it is this like gooey soft inside. So what actually happens within that environment is all up for grabs. Like it can be anything can really happen. And even when you're like creating stories or creating adventures, creating scenarios, or creating campaigns, is being comfortable with that situation, is going, okay, well, I'm comfortable with anything happening within this like these really wide boundaries. And kind of the last thing that I wanted to mention here, which is in this section about principles of agency, there's a last part here where it talks about if a role leads to a consequence so unexpected that the warden or players realize that they shouldn't have called for a roll in the first place, they should undo it. Talk about what they did wrong, then move on, and noting here that nobody's perfect. Yeah, I really love some of these like reassuring notes within the guide. It gives a bit of confidence for people who are running it that if something does go wrong, you can like rewind back. This is very common as like a solution to when, of course, if there's any like safety rules that maybe someone doesn't feel very comfortable with a particular scene or the things that happen within a scene, is actually just a almost like just rewind back out of the scene until the start, or maybe avoid it, or just replay the scene in a way where it becomes veiled or avoiding it as well. So yeah, this can be done even for like mechanically where perhaps you called for a roll and you shouldn't have, or maybe like a ruling, for example, where perhaps not everyone kind of like agrees with how that played out. And so it's great that they write notes like this. It's really, really cool. The difficulty, of course, with this is kind of like catching this in the moment, because, you know, as the warden, you are, you know, being impartial as much as you can. You're trying to give rulings around like, okay, well, when you bump up against the environment or the enemies or something that's happening in that environment, okay, well, that's the reason why you're rolling in the first place, to determine the probability of this thing actually happening. And so it can get a bit tricky to actually catch this in the moment and say, hey, like, can we like redo this? I'm not too sure, because if you have a group that you've been playing with for a while, then that can be easier to do. However, if you are just like a random group of players and it's a new warden or something like this, maybe you've never played Mothership before, then this is much, much harder, of course, like to actually catch this in the moment and go, oh, we should rewind this because it doesn't make sense, or something like this. The way that they've worded it here, where it says leads to a consequence so unexpected that the warden or players realize that they shouldn't have called for a roll. Like, I'm kind of imagining where, you know, you roll for something that's like opening a door or something like this that seems very inconsequential, and then they just roll a critical fail, and as a result of that, you have to come up with some sort of critical failure. And to be honest, it's a good reason, a good example of why you shouldn't even really roll in this situation where there's no real great consequence that could happen. So the point here is that this is great advice, but also I think it's also important to make sure that you do have like feedback afterwards. So even if it's like a new group or a group of players that you've never come in contact with before, then having that feedback after the session can be really important to you, because it kind of like clears the air. It kind of, you figure out, okay, well, how do they feel about that particular ruling? And like, even when I've been running games, sometimes I kind of like take a quick note of like, okay, like I very much improvised this this ruling, and I want to ask how they felt about that. So yeah, when it's like a really unusual ruling, and you just want to double check whether it actually worked out well, then it's worth doing that. So, and a round of feedback can be as easy as just saying, what did you like? What was a highlight? What didn't you like? What's something that you would take into your next game? And of course, like after that, you can ask, I think particularly as the warden, like you can ask for specific feedback about particular situations. And of course, like you can't expect people to always articulate exactly how they felt in that moment or how they felt about that ruling. And also they might not want to do it in front of other people. So if you're doing it in a group, so always being open to getting some advice that is maybe as a direct message instead is always important too. So yeah, it just sort of shows the flexibility that, you know, whatever you say and whatever you do, yes, it is joint story building. However, if you do find yourself like you go down a particular road that you're not comfortable with because it just set off a sequence of events that kind of breaks the game a little bit, or does not make a lot of sense, then there's nothing really stopping you like rewinding it back to the start of that scene, and then choosing whether to go with the scene, redo it, or change the scene and do something a little bit different. So yeah. Yeah, I thought this was like a really interesting part of the Warden's operations manual. I saw that Scudder Mike, you mentioned that like this is a really, really great resource. There is so much great advice. Like honestly, Like every time I open it up, I'm like, oh yeah, I've got to remember to do that. There's so many like great little like tidbits of information that is in there, and so it's one of those things. Just like the player survival guide is like, okay, well I know how to do most of this, um, but I would encourage people to like flip open a page and just like read, and I'm sure that you'll either get reminded of how to do something, you'll get inspired to do something potentially, and or you'll feel a lot more comfortable like playing and wardening as a result of flipping through Warden's operations manual and seeing what is in there. So today this is what I ended up on, which is page 31, and yeah, it's something really useful, and some really great quotes that that I had from here that that resonated with me about how I could potentially, well, what things I would keep in mind, and things that I think are pertinent to playing and wardening Mothership. But yeah, that's everything that I had on the agenda for today. But yeah, I'm happy to sort of stick around for a little while. I was having some issues there. My OBS was not like connecting and streaming correctly. It's the first time I had that error, so I'm not too sure what was really going on in that situation. So I'll have to figure that out afterwards. And so yeah, there was a few bits where it was like skipping, and I could see that you guys were mentioning this too. So but yeah. But I have a question for those that are here. Is there anything that you're interested in playing or interested in wardening soon? I'm always curious about what people have got on their mind. For me personally, there's a couple of things which are like Deadweight by Norgad, I should say, or Roach Motel as well by Norgad, and there are a couple of other ones that I'd be quite keen to have a look at from the ones that I mentioned before, were like VR Dead or Nirvana on Fire or Warped Beyond Recognition, that I'm quite keen to read very, very soon, and see if we can run them in the community. That would be a lot of fun. But yeah. And if you have any questions, like if you've got any burning questions, then I'd be happy to answer them as well. My answer would be that I'm interested in playing Mosh again in general, but our last session was 3+ months ago, but it seems it takes up speed again soon. So far, Mosh is just a distant memory. Fair enough. Yeah, especially if you have groups that are quite happy playing a lot of different systems. This does come about, and of course, Mosh is just one of those systems, and the good thing about Mothership is so easy to pick up, and I hope that there is an adventure or a scenario that sounds kind of interesting for you, and that you do pick it up at some point again. But yeah, it's worth it's just something that happens, particularly with groups willing to play lots of different stuff, which is also quite fun as well, like learning different systems and seeing how they interact and how they work in different scenarios too. So I imagine things that people are looking for when they play Mothership is looking for this sort of OSR style TTRPG, looking for, okay, well, how does this like stress and panic system work, and also playing a game that is quite like lethal as well, like how does that work from a character's point of view, because characters are not really heroic. They are more like desperate survivors. So it does change how you might play them, especially if you've played other systems. So yeah. So a new player might join / replaced another one. A chance to get everyone, me included, up to date again. Yeah, of course. Yeah, and that's cool. Like to have a new player in the group, it enables you to play some systems that you've played before and introduce them to them. And hopefully the reverse as well. Like maybe there's a system that they've played but you guys haven't played. So it sounds like a lot of fun that you're able to do that, Strand. That's very, very cool. So I'll wait a couple of minutes in case there's someone desperately writing out a question or a comment or something like this. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that I had planned for today. And just as I say that, my local church bells have started. Maybe that's a sign, perhaps. But yeah. Church approved. Church approved stream. Hallelujah, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, it's about 2 blocks away, and I'm sure that you guys, if anyone's been in the stream before, is that they've heard the church bells a few different times. It's either church bells or barking dogs, or although I think I've been a little bit lucky with other sort of like rural town noises. So we often have like cows or donkeys that walk past my place. And I think I've managed to avoid it happening during a stream. So yeah. So maybe we should like set up like a bingo card for these streams. So you know, one space for church bells, one space for dogs barking, another one for like a donkey, sound of a donkey. Maybe some of the things that I always say, perhaps, just to make it more entertaining for you guys. Donkeys outside the window rule. I think it's maybe a Mexican rural town thing. So I wouldn't say that would be like rural in New Zealand, but because I'm in Mexico, is that yes, that does happen here. But yeah. But yes, anyway, I hope that you guys have a good rest of your week. It was nice to see you in here. Thank you, Strand, and thank you, Scudder, for Mike as well. Yeah, I'll have to check out your latest video as well, Mike, and see what it's like. And yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your week and enjoy your weekends coming up. And yeah, it was very nice to see you all. Yeah, have a great afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you might be. All right, see you guys later. Have a good one.